Hey, greetings, folks. Welcome to another edition of Adventures in Imperfect Living. My name is Greg Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I am Jennifer Willits, his wife.
And we thought we would just say howdy, let's catch up, see what's been going on, share some feedback.
We miss you so much.
And we've had some great interviews and conversations recently on the show, and we have some more that will be coming in the weeks ahead. This is all going to be feedback from before our conversation with Deacon Matthew Newsom about the devout life. So before that, so there won't be any feedback on that. There won't be any feedback on our Rachel Clackey conversation, which was a great one. And there won't be any feedback in this episode about Dr. Jared Stout and the Eucharist will save civilization. If you want to send feedback on any of those, like the next feedback show, we'll share some of that. You can always send your feedback and things we talk about, questions that you might want us to answer. You can do so. Feedback at gregandjennifer.com is the way to send the email. But we always prefer to hear your beautiful voice and see your pretty faces. And you can upload videos and audio directly over at rosaryarmy.wetransfer.com. It's super easy. You grab your phone, you hold it in front of you, go, hey, Greg and Jennifer, blah, 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 blah. Hit that, upload that file. It's super easy. It really is. You can do it on your phone directly, 100%. And it's not so scary to do that. People have done it. So I am able to, I'm going to be doing this in this episode. I'm going to be.
Why, Greg? Why are you doing that?
I'm going to be talking to you kind of like out of the side of the lower half of I literally in the last hour went to pick up a new pair of glasses. So new pair of glasses. They look a lot like the old pair of glasses, except they are different because as the doctor so scientifically put it, I went up like 1 or 2 clicks.
Right. And for those of you watching this episode, you can see the new frames and you can see all the herky-jerky head movements he was just doing. But if you're just listening, oh, well, you'll just have to use the power of your imagination to imagine a new set of frames on this beautiful face here.
And if you are, thank you, beautiful face. Yes. I like that. If you are watching this right now, next week, you'll see me wearing my old pair of glasses again because these won't work.
Because reasons.
No, because these won't work, and so I'll return them, and I'll go. No, that's not. It's we already recorded the conversation for next week about the prosperity gospel, and as soon as we finish recording that conversation this morning, which is why my voice is already a little craggy, and I'm working on another audiobook, so I feel my voice is fighting with me again already. That as soon as we finished that recording, I went and picked up the new glasses. I got a text just as we were about to start that conversation. No, but. So I have what are they called? Progressive lenses, bifocals. And one thing that they had me do when they have like a little card that they want you to read off of. How's this look? It looks great. I can read it. They should have had me read it first with my old glasses and then put the new ones on and then read it again. And I did it in reverse. I put these on, and then while she went to go adjust a couple things like the nose pads or whatever, I put my old glasses on just out of curiosity and looked down at the card. And I couldn't read certain sections of it at all. And other parts were blurry. And that's part of why I was like, I was really, really frustrated. And I've talked about this, how I've gone and bought some reader glasses, and I've just given up on using my bifocals when I'm reading in bed because the prescription changed on the bottom faster than it changed on the top. So I was always, I got my first pair of glasses when I was like 16. And I was the last of the 6 kids in my family to get glasses. My siblings have much worse eyes than I do. But I've always been nearsighted, meaning I could always read easy, without glasses. It was seeing far away that was difficult for me. And now it's just everything is hard. It's like, far and near is difficult. I worry that looking at my screen just now, I really don't know. It's still more blurry than I would like to see the screen. So it's like I said that to the doctor. I kind of wish that there was this middle tier of trifocal or whatever that, but then I think that would drive me nuts. Getting old stinks in this regard. The little health things that are suddenly happening. Last Thursday, we went to go see Sound of Freedom.
Great movie, by the way. Tough subject matter.
We can actually talk about that a little bit. I know, I don't typically like to talk about movies, and I know Mac and Catherine, I haven't heard their commentary on it. They talked about it quite a bit on Catholic in a Small Town, but Went and saw a movie. When we got in the truck, drove to the theater, I was fine. Arrived, and I could just feel something was wrong with my back. Got out of the truck, and it took my breath away. I thought I was passing a kidney stone. It hurt so bad. I didn't know what was going on. My lower back hurt so much. Like, you started walking. I'm like, hold on. I had to stop. I'm like,
you just stood there.
I'm just like standing by the truck. I'm like, I couldn't walk. And I'm like stretching it out, just trying to walk from the truck to inside the movie theater. I had to stop. I was in so much pain. And we got inside and sat down, and I had to lift up, the seats and have the armrest that you can lift up. So I had to lift up that side. I'm like kind of shoving my butt in your direction because I'm like, I have to sit on this side. I can't sit on the right butt cheek, basically. Excuse me. the right gluteal muscle.
So you're sort of hiked up on the side.
I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. It hurt so bad to sit down and stand up. And it just kept getting worse. And by the time the movie was over and we got home, and then that night, I've had my back go out, quote unquote, right? I wasn't completely incapacitated. I just had it where it really hurt. Something, tore or something. This was the most back pain I've ever experienced in my life. I was a little afraid, and I just was already like, I've tweaked my shoulder, and it literally took about 6 months to a year for the pain to go away completely. And so I was kind of like mentally preparing myself. This hurts so much. I cannot imagine this getting better anytime soon.
Right.
Catherine, who's a nurse, gave me some muscle relaxers that she had.
And she just had them in her purse.
And
there in the movie theater.
No.
I'm kidding. No. I know.
So she's not walking around.
She's got like a whole pharmacy in her bag. Yeah. That's how she is. And she's ready. You need some drugs? I got it.
Yeah.
I'm the nurse.
You're having prostate issues? I got some Flomax right here.
What you need. So thank goodness, because normally I do have the basics like Tylenol and Advil in my purse, but I didn't today. And I'm like, oh no. And I knew if you were asking me for it, the pain was pretty significant. I'm so glad
I don't like
she
take
had
medicine.
Something.
So I took like 4 Advil right there in the theater, and that kind of got me through the movie. That stuff wears out after 4 hours. So again, a couple hours after we got home, just down for the count. And it was so bad that sitting down, like I had to brace myself, and I'm seeing, like, I call it white lightning. I'm just seeing lightning bolts of pain. It hurts so bad. I have never experienced anything like that bodily.
So do you think it still could have been a kidney stone since it was so short and intense?
I don't know, because the doctor and I ended up going to a chiropractor the next day. Didn't seem to think so. And they did do x-rays the next day. I actually have to I'm going back to the chiropractor here in a couple hours for follow-up. And then I go back on Thursday to review the actual x-rays. But they took a quick glance, and they said that they could see arthritis in my right hip, which has been, my oldest sister, who is 12, 13 years older than me. She's 65. She actually had a hip replacement a few years ago. Totally didn't know she was going to do this. Found out about it after the fact. And then she just sends me this text that's been haunting me ever since over the last few years of like, this is something that can be hereditary, so get ready. I'm like, oh, great. And, my hip already kind of bugged me then, and it progressively has gotten worse. It hurts to sit on my side after a certain amount. So I don't know if it was my hip. I don't know if it was my lower back. I don't know what it was, but it was like this radiating pain. So just getting old. I hated it. How you could see how this could become a problem. Like, it only takes like one little tweak. And we've known people that have had sudden back injuries. And, my foster sister, Kelly, she had back issues, and she ended up having surgery, and she's, been in a wheelchair since then for the last several years. It actually made her disabled in part. And, it's like, oh man, what in the world is going on? So the good news is I was really surprised. And I kept saying this, on Saturday. I'm like, I can't believe that 48 hours ago I could hardly move, and now I'm okay. I'm doing stuff, and but today, like, my back I've been very sensitive to it today. I've been going, it's been going, hey, take it easy. So I don't, say a prayer for my whatever it is, my hip. I don't know if it's my hip.
Right.
No, she said, she the chiropractor, there were like some really tense nerve endings or tendons or whatever, that she could feel it. And I could feel it when she was working on it. And it was some severe pain that she was working out. And so
I feel like that's a bit normal for you. You usually always have some really tender spot that needs to be worked out. You have that little rolling knobby wheel that you use every couple of nights just to iron out a few muscle wrinkles, is what I like to call them, just
that's
to
for my
smooth
back.
things out.
I don't do that on my leg as much.
But yeah, it's we're getting older when we're talking about, like, even the Barons, as they get older, their failing joints or weird rashes that come out of nowhere are now topics on the program because
you with your gout,
aging.
Talking about Jennifer's gout. And,
and now I don't think it's gout anymore.
Just arthritis. But
the
fact that I'm 52 years old,
I don't know what it is.
And a doctor has taken an X-ray and said, you, Greg Willits, at 52, have signs of arthritis in your hip, and I'm just like, that's not possible.
Ooh. I'm too young.
Arthritic hip. Well, I could tell you when it's going to rain.
But does it ever hurt when rain comes?
Well, yeah.
You feel that?
So when we were living here before, I had kind of an achy knee. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to Colorado, and I remember going, wow, I hardly ever feel that knee pain anymore because it's so dry out there. So anyway, then there's that. That's going on. You just wrote down Six Flags.
Yeah, because I was just trying to think, like, what other unusual things have happened that can cause pain?
Well, I didn't go to Six Flags.
No, but Lily did for her first time ever. And Six Flags, if your listeners,
park.
if you don't know, but it is one of the major amusement parks in the state of Georgia. It might be the only real major one. I think it has roots to Texas. I think there's a Six Flags over Texas somehow
Six Flags
connected.
is a chain.
Okay.
There are multiple Six Flags locations. The one in Atlanta, that was around from before we were even born.
Oh yeah, I grew up with going to Six Flags. I had a season pass in the '80s that my parents bought back. It was like $65 for a season pass for Six Flags.
How much?
$65.
And you can go all you want.
Yeah, all year.
But how did you get there from where you lived?
My parents just drove us.
Man, that wasn't
we
close.
We just drove. I know. We lived in like Stone Mountain area.
And it's all on the other side of Atlanta.
And we had to make the hour-long drive, and we packed some food. We were that family that had like a little picnic.
But your parents got
lunch.
Passes too.
Yeah, the whole family
okay.
got season passes.
I thought you meant just like you and John had them. But
it was a lot of fun. But I remember even then how rough some of these rides can be on the body, especially your skeletal structure. Like
the Scream Machine.
Yeah, like an old-fashioned wooden roller coaster, and like they are not gentle on the body. And as I got older, I found myself less and less able to handle any rides at all on the amusement park. And so, I knew that Lily's at a great age for this sort of thing. She's 14. She's never been. So like, all right, go have a good time with your friends. It'll be great. And
she went with Jude and Juan.
And Ben, our producer.
And Ben, and then a couple of Ben's friends that Lily knew.
So it was just super great. And they actually used my car to go there because I still have a minivan and it holds plenty of people. So it was the perfect vehicle.
Which that was weird. That was weird, by the way.
It was kind of funny how it all worked out.
Having Ben, who edits our videos for us, come over to our house, take our van. I'm going, we just let one of our kids drive our van for the first time this year.
Right. So we did a car swap for the day.
So letting Ben Barron take the van and then taking it all the way out to Six Flags, which is like an hour away from here.
Yeah.
It
was fun. I'm so glad.
But they had a good time.
It was, she had a great time, except Lily now knows she's good, never going back.
Really?
she
didn't like the roller coasters?
She went on something called the Goliath, which I still need to look this one up, but I think it might have been the biggest roller coaster in the park.
I think that's like a 5-looper too.
Oh no, but
I can't remember if Goliath is a looping roller coaster or not.
So she succumbed, I think, to the peer pressure of like, come on, let's all go. Come on, Goliath. And so she doesn't have a reference. So she doesn't know if she's going to hate it or love it. So she's like, okay, I'll go. I'm going to go on this thing. And so she gets, on the ride, and they're like slowly making the long ascent up to the first summit of the big major drop. And she's just, getting ready just to go over, and her eyes were open up to this point. But as soon as she could see, like, the downness of the drop.
That's not fair. That's not fair. I'm looking at it right now. You talk about as soon
the
as she
drop.
could see, she could see the drop. She was terrified.
As soon as she saw that visual, she was like, nope. And she shut her eyes and she just held on with every ounce of her strength. She didn't scream at all. She did this. And I'm sorry, dear listener, if you're only listening to this, you're just going to hear awkward silence. But if you're watching it, you're in for a treat. This was Lily.
It's like she's constipated.
It's like she's just holding on and not making a sound, maybe not even breathing, and she was just silent. And so normally you would scream your head off for these things. Like that is the automatic reaction.
Woo-hoo!
And so she was riding with her friend Olivia, and Olivia just looked over at Lily because she thought Lily passed out. That she was just like asleep with her head nodding off to the side. But she was just like, I want this over. I want this over, and I don't want to see. And it was too much chaos in the visual that it wasn't fun.
All right,
so
here's the description
survived.
on Six Flags' website. This is the Goliath. As far as roller coasters go, there are beasts, there are giants, and then there is Goliath. Find out why bigger is better on this intense 70-mile-per-hour body blaster that is not for the timid.
No.
Any coaster that reaches 200 feet in the sky earns the title of hypercoaster. It's a rare breed that will take you straight to the sky. Once you get to the top of that first insane hill, you'll waste no time in careening right back down a mind-numbing 170 feet. Then you'll pop over the enormous drop like it was nothing on your way to an even steeper 170-foot drop. In case you can't tell yet, everything on a hypercoaster is supersized. Another 12-story drop is waiting for you. Then a barreling race up and down a 540-degree spiral that will make you feel about 1,000 feet tall. You'll bank hard over sharp turns and stomp up and down mega hills. How do a whopping 4 Gs sound? Because that's what you'll get on this mega monster. You're standing tall among the giants now. Goliath. Only at Six Flags over Georgia. So... what's a shame is that was her first one, because then there's like the Superman ride, which is awesome. There's a few other. Now the Scream Machine, that's the wooden one, right?
Yes.
That's the classic one.
But she definitely did not ride any more roller coasters after Goliath. That was it for her. It was too much. And quite honestly, it like one of them, I don't know if it was Goliath, that it like really hurt her spine. She just felt pain in her spine. And that's how those rides are. I mean, like you look at the list of warnings and disclaimers on the outside of each roller coaster so that, they assume no liability if you get hurt or injured or maimed or you black out or, if you're pregnant. I don't even know why. You can't even go.
Did she go on the water? Did she go on the water one?
She liked the water rides. She did Thunder River. And she did the Log Flume.
Yeah.
Totally all about that.
Yeah.
And there was like one other DC Hall of Justice ride. And I need to look this one up because she said that was actually a ton of fun. It's like I had no point of reference because I hadn't been to Six Flags in like a decade, so I don't even know what's there anymore.
No one told me there was a Hall of Justice.
But because this particular amusement park focuses on DC characters, so
this is like the Battle for Metropolis or something.
Yes, so you're riding through shooting at things.
Oh, that's cool.
And so she enjoyed the heck out of that ride and had a great time. But they all had fun. It was such a hot day to go. It's like they were experiencing 90-degree plus weather. No rain. They wished it rained.
All right.
It was so hot, but they had fun.
I have two quick Six Flags stories that I want to tell.
Okay.
And you probably heard both of them. One of them...
I'm sure I have.
Again, when I was a kid, so many things happened, and I didn't know they were happening until they were already happening. We didn't go to Six Flags very often as when I was younger, but my grandfather came to town, my grandpa and grandma, and one afternoon, suddenly it's like, we're going to Six Flags, let's go. And we all went, I feel like all the kids were there, and I think my parents were there, and my grandpa was there. And there used to be a ride called Barrel of Fun. Do you remember Barrel of Fun? You'd walk in, and you'd walk into a door, and you're standing in a circular room, and everyone finds a space next to the wall, and you just stand straight up against the wall. The barrel starts spinning, and then spinning really fast, and then all of a sudden the floor goes boom, and drops underneath you, and you're like stuck to the side of the floor. And then it kind of goes up and down.
The side of the wall.
Side of the wall.
Yeah.
So
the principles of centrifugal force.
now, this is a story that I was told, but I was told this and I thought it was so funny. I wasn't big enough to go on the Barrel of Fun. But Grandpa goes on it with my brother Scott, maybe my brother Paul, I don't know. But as the story went, and it was embellished and told in different amounts of exaggeration over the years, Grandpa goes on this. They get off of this. They're walking off of this. They're standing over by the bathroom. And my grandfather turns to my brother Scott and says, "Scott, hold my dentures." Grandpa went into the bathroom and Grandpa lost his lunch.
Oh,
so that was the other story, which you've heard. So, I will say that my mother was frugal when I was younger. And when I was in middle school, we were living in Columbus, Ohio at that time. My sister was here in Atlanta. We had lots of friends in Atlanta because we had originally lived here. We lived in Atlanta, moved to Columbus, came down for spring break of sixth grade year. And so my sister, Robbie, came to town, and Robbie took me and my brother Paul, and we went to Six Flags. We hadn't been since I was a little kid. Went on so many of the rides, had a great time. But I bring up my mom's frugality because shortly before we came down here for spring break to visit my other sister, Nancy, Mom took me to Kmart, and I needed a new pair of shoes, and we had been over this battle before. I hated Kmart shoes. I didn't want Kmart shoes. I wore Kmart shoes for most of elementary school and into middle school. I had this blue pair of shoes. I wanted blue Nikes. I got blue Kmart shoes. These blue Kmart shoes that I was wearing, then we go to Six Flags. This is right when Thunder River opens up. Thunder River is about 8 people get on a big circular floating thing, and then they have like their fake rapids, and they send you down, and there's pre-designed areas where when you hit a certain area, tons of water splashes into your float, and you're going to get soaking wet, and that's part of the fun. So we go to Six Flags, and we're walking around, and we go on Thunder River, and then we say, "Oh, that was so much fun. Let's go on Thunder River again." And then we're walking around more, and it's a hot day, and we're going on more rides, and it's me and my sister, who's like 10 years older than me, and Paul. We're having a great time. We go, and we take the MARTA back to wherever we needed to go, and then my sister picked us up. We get back to her house, and we're talking about the day, and then I go to take off my shoes. And my feet were completely dyed blue. All of the ink from those Kmart shoes were transferred from these new shoes directly on. I wasn't wearing socks. I had bare feet inside the shoes. And my feet remained blue. No matter how many showers I took and how much scrubbing I took, they remained blue for the better part of a week. I had blue Smurf feet for the better part of a week. And so that's every time I've gone on that ride, I always have to tell that story again of my week of blue Smurf shoes.
That is hilarious. But just hearing that you tell that story about being on Thunder River, and part of the fun was seeing which person on that 8-person raft was going to be soaked, because there's always one who's going to be drenched from head to toe, and how we all secretly desired to be that one person to be soaking wet, because it's kind of like this badge of honor when you come and exit the ride and you're walking through the park and you're soaking wet, that you're like, "Oh wow, look at that guy, he's wet."
Yeah.
And like that was a cool thing.
Or it's when you're walking into the ride, because it's always like 2 lanes, right?
Yeah,
it's like the people going in and people just coming off.
You pass each other.
And as you're going on, you're about to get in the line, you're like, "Oh, I wonder how this is going to go." And all of a sudden you see this drenched person coming out, and then like right next to this is like a dry person just laughing at them. It's like, ha ha ha. And also when you're on that Thunder River, you're on it, you are having those thoughts of like, "I wonder if I'm going to get wet," but you don't know that you're going to get wet until like 3 seconds beforehand. All of a sudden it'll start twisting, and you realize, I think this is one of those points where it's going to, and oh no, it's going to be me. It's whoosh, and the big wave comes up.
So good time.
So she had that, and another good time that she's having, hopefully, as we're recording this right now, Lily is actually having her very first summer camp experience, solo summer camp. She went once when she was a baby.
But that doesn't really count.
Has no memory of this. But our good friend, Father Jay Finelli, we were having a conversation with him a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago. He actually, Father Jay's up in Rhode Island, and we were talking about how seriously Lily takes her faith and how she loves going to the traditional Latin Mass with us, and how excited she got like when they had a vocation day at the Catholic hybrid school that she goes to. And how even Lily talks about, at 14, that she might have a vocation to being a nun, to religious life. And we're like, okay, that's fantastic.
Hold on now. Let's see.
If that's where God wants you to go,
Yeah.
great. But there's a lot of life that's going to be happening in the next few years before you have to make that decision. But Father Jay told us about this camp called Morning Star Camp, which is run by, I'm going to get it wrong.
It's the Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. That is the religious order of religious sisters and brothers, actually, that are living the religious life of the total consecration to Jesus through Mary, according to St. Louis de Montfort. So they're like, we're like doing similar things. Like they're the religious order version, and we're like lady version.
And
what we're trying to do with School of Mary.
And we didn't make this connection right away, but when Jennifer and I renewed our consecration, it was our 20th anniversary of making our consecration to Jesus through Mary this past March. One thing that we decided to do, and we haven't even talked about it, maybe you've noticed that, like, if you're watching the video, we now wear 2 rings. One's our wedding ring on our left hand, and on our right hand, we have basically matching rings that we found
Hand
online
models.
that are that are basically.
No, you can't do that. You got to be back here.
Basically, they're rings that have a chain on it to show our being bound to our Blessed Mother and her Son, and they're rings that signify and remind us every day when we feel it on my finger and look at it, that we are slaves to Jesus through Mary, that we belong to Jesus through Mary completely, that we have entrusted our lives and all of our possessions completely to Jesus through Mary. This is all a part of what St. Louis Marie de Montfort helps us to understand through preparation for total consecration, which, by the way, is one aspect of School of Mary. One of the reasons why we started schoolofmary.com, why we wanted to have total consecration be one of the first and main offerings on that school to help you to make that huge leap of saying, I am all in for Christ. And one of the easiest and surest ways of making yourself completely available to Jesus Christ is by consecrating yourself to him through his mom. And because Mary will help us to constantly keep our focus on her Son. And so that's what these sisters, Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, do. Their website, sisters.stbenedict.com. The St. Benedict, I read an explanation. I'm not going to even attempt to. They're not Benedictines, even though St. Benedict is part of their charism. But they truly are focused on consecration to Jesus through Mary. And it's so funny that we're doing all this kind of tandem work. We haven't had a conversation with them, but you've had a conversation with one of the nuns, because Father Jay tells us about this group of nuns. It turns out, providentially, coincidentally, that these are the same nuns that they make these rings that we got. And then suddenly we're planning to send our daughter to this camp. And so we told the parents of one of Lily's best friends, who we knew would probably like this kind of thing, started conspiring. The girls immediately loved the idea of getting on a plane, their first plane ride without parents, flying all the way up to Boston, having nuns pick them up at the airport, take them to this camp for a week. Traditional Latin Mass every day of this camp. Lots of great activities for girls. And they have a separate boys camp. I didn't bother to read anything about that.
But yeah, there's the Montfort Boys Camp. And then there's the Morning Star Camp, which is just for Catholic girls.
Yeah.
And I think there are 4 weeks during the summer. So there's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So they differentiate between age groups. So depending on the age of your girl, and you want to plug her into the camp that meets that need for her based on her age and where you think she's going to fit. And the activities are wonderful. I mean, it's not like, I don't know that there's ziplining, but I know there's hiking, archery, lots of camping, boating, and kayaking, swimming, and then there's the typical arts and crafts, sing along, and all the hilarity that can ensue with a bunch of girls.
So I'm kind of assuming that
prayer, rosary, benediction, Latin Mass, like all the wonderful things, and really modest clothing, and so it's a very safe place to send your Catholic girl.
All the things that you just said, I'm kind of assuming Lily's going to come back and we're probably just going to turn over the show to her, because she'll probably be able to lead you to greater holiness than Jennifer and I ever will be able to do. So we're very excited that she's there. We're glad that she's had that opportunity to do that. But, say some prayers for her and her buddy, nevertheless, just because it's nerve-wracking for us as parents sending her off, especially it's like the same week that we watched Sound of Freedom, where if you've seen that movie, it's like immediately we watch that and then we put Lily on a plane a few days later and we're like, oh dear God, please take care of our daughter and keep her safe while she's traveling. And
I mean, speaking of that movie, we did want to at least do our part because we are very fortunate. We do have an audience. People may be on the fence about seeing this movie because you kind of know what it's about already. And you're thinking, this is too dark. I have kids. This is going to freak me out. I'm afraid to see it. And believe me, I felt all of those things. But I also realized how important it is to support movies like this, and that almost buying the ticket and showing up is a way of participating in a message for good. Like, all right, I'm going to support this. I want to be informed. And maybe your eyes can be opened in a way that it just needs to be, so that you can be just a more alert parent when you go out into these large public places, but you can see just how devious this industry operates and how pervasive it is of sex trafficking.
Yeah, for those who don't know what the movie's about.
Right, and it really is about the child sex trade. And like we all kind of know it's there. It's like the big elephant in the room that we feel like, well, what can I do? What can I do? I don't even know what to do about it. It's so big. Like, it's so big. How can I fight? How can I fight this? But it does start with knowing that it's there, absolutely, and being like, it's not saying live in a state of fear. That wasn't the message of the movie, but man, I am praying more for these kids that I don't think I ever really thought to pray for before, that these kids are going to be rescued, and that America is like one of the biggest consumers of this vile industry. And it is terrible. And you can start seeing the holes in the system, which was another thing that I questioned in the movie, is how are these pedophilia-driven men and women, honestly, because it wasn't just exclusive to men who are perpetrating these crimes. Women are very much involved, which is terrible. How are they able to get children through so easily in droves? Like, we're talking millions of kids. Like, how are we not seeing this, And so the film opens your eyes to how they're able to do it. And then you realize our system in America, even when you're traveling domestically or internationally, you can start seeing that there are some holes, that it could be more secure, and how easy it is for kids to be brought through in plain sight through illegal means. And wow, it just it broke my heart, but in good ways. It needs to be broken. We need to see a face to this crime, so it's not just millions of victims that we can compartmentalize and keep it at arm's length and not think about it. But the movie puts a name, puts a face, makes that child a little more closer to home feeling, so that you will be moved to act, maybe on the political sphere, or maybe just with prayers and sacrificing that you can do as a Catholic. There are things that you can do.
One of the things that I really appreciated was the honesty in telling the story, but also not forcing you as the viewer to see like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And yet what was happening. And not to toot Jim Caviezel's horn, he did a great job with his face, because there were times where something was happening, he was watching it on a video or something like that as a Homeland security person, that he did this as a part of his job, trying to track down and stop this kind of thing. His facial expressions were enough to tell you of the abominations that are happening. And so you're not forced to see things happening to actual children. You know it. A lot of it's inferred, and that's bad enough, right? It's enough to make you squirm. But the great thing about this movie, and I said this, we went and saw it with our friends Mac and Catherine, and walked out and just said, they're finally, and I said they, meaning non-Hollywood movie producers. I said, they're finally getting it. They're getting it that we'll go see these movies, but they still need to be good, or we won't go see them. And especially when we were on radio, we'd have all these Christian movies sent to us, and we tried to watch them, and just after a while, and they would ask us to give statements about them. And there were a couple, and I won't say which ones they were. We went to the theater and we came out, and they wanted to film us giving a commentary so that they could put it on. And it wasn't a very good movie. It's like, I don't know what to. I applaud your efforts. I mean, listen, as someone who is, we made a Catholic sitcom for Catholic TV years ago. It's terrible. I mean, it's like it's a great effort.
It's hard to make something good.
It's hard to make something that really is high quality, that we're used to it. This movie, they did it. I finally feel like this is one of the first really. You can't count Passion of the Christ because that was, Mel Gibson was making that. It was really professionally done. Mm-hmm. This was like the first sort of like Christian producer making a movie, and they really nailed it. And it was a genuinely good movie. It wasn't just a message movie. And it's really interesting how I saw a bunch of quotes from people who work in movie theaters. They're like, "What is this movie, and why are all the showings selling out?" They were like, the employees at the theaters were caught off guard by this film, and that more and more people are going to see it as word of mouth is going out there. So it is worth watching. It's a high quality movie. Is it difficult? Yep. Will it make you uncomfortable? Yep. Are you going to be forced to see things that are going to haunt you? Well, maybe, but you're not going to see gratuitousness. Yeah. There's no gratuitous scenes of violence. A lot of things are alluded to. They handled it very, very carefully. So it's a good film.
The children in this film.
Oh my gosh, the two main kids. Two of the best, and they don't even speak English. They were two of the best kid actors I've seen in a long time. And that was the other thing. I was like, you worry about it as soon as the kid comes on. It's like, oh, this is where it's going to go. This is where it's going to go down.
Excellent acting, really well done. Well done.
Before the last few episodes where we had a bunch of interviews, Jennifer and I shared just some disappointing, frustrating life situation things. To the point where we almost don't even remember everything that we talked about. But we did get some great feedback from some of you. So again, thank you for sharing your perspectives. Rudy listened to the episode about disappointment, dealing with disappointment. Part of it was when we didn't get the passport in time for our daughter Lily.
And then the whole Lourdes trip
did
not happen.
So Lily's passport arrived the day after we would have returned from our trip to Lourdes.
So a week late.
So we have her passport now.
Yes.
Great. Congratulations to us, but it didn't arrive in time. But Rudy said, Greg, hope you're well. Just listened to the latest episode. You guys continue to do great prescient work. Like we're reading their minds, Jennifer.
How do you say that word?
Prescient?
Prescient.
That's how I say it, at least.
Okay.
He says, I swear it was like listening to myself. Well, Rudy, we have been bugging your home, and I've been working on my impersonation of you, and I'm glad that it went well and that you thought I did a good job, basically sounding like Rudy. So everybody, this is my Rudy impersonation. We also heard from Jonathan about the disappointment episode. He said, Greg, bruh. Literally spelled it out that way. Bruh. From one melancholic to another, thank you for this episode. I felt every bit of what you were describing. By the way, it's kind of like that with the IRS too, meaning our dealings with the travel side of the government, of the passport office and all that, of just all the rigmarole and the ridiculousness of everything that we have to deal with.
Our good friend Zena, who recently visited our home a couple weeks back and also got to spend some time with Mac and Catherine Barron, she thought of us because she came across an article, I think on NPR, or someone posted this about passports, that more and more Americans are being, having all their travel plans completely canceled, no refunds. It's just ruined travel plans left and right. And so this is a growing concern. And thankfully, if you have the advantage of time on your hand, like let's say you do have a passport that's applied for and you're maybe 3 or 4 weeks out from that trip, I'm telling you, once you get to 2 weeks out from that trip, that is your window to act. And like we said a couple episodes back, if you go to the National Passport online status website and it still says in process and there's no evidence that it is actually progressing along to the next step, you can still go to your congressman, your local congressman, and appeal for a congressional passport appointment at the nearest agency near you, or perhaps they can do all of it for you. But it is still possible. In fact, someone was able to enjoy success for that very reason.
Yeah, I told him about our problem. I told him about our time down at the passport office and that we were hearing other people getting a congressional appointment. And so I texted him and I said, hey, I know you're getting ready to travel out of the country with your daughters and then you're waiting for their passports to show up. I told him, contact your congressperson right now. I said, we did just today, but it was too late because we were like 48 hours from leaving, but you might still have time. He contacted his congressperson. One of their aides in the office was very communicative, gave him updates, said, send me all your paperwork. They forwarded the paperwork to the passport office, gave updates all along the process, and then he got his passports, and then they went off and they were able to have their trip. So we saved their trip, but no one saved ours.
No. See, okay, this is the melancholic way of looking at things. Our trip is rescheduled for the best time.
All right, so...
They acknowledge.
Yeah.
Acknowledge.
You are acknowledged. I acknowledged the thing that you said.
That is totally different from me.
Whatever.
You sanguine, over there.
You being excited.
You just be happy over there by yourself, and I'm going to be all brooding over here.
I acknowledge that you are excited and that you are being positive. Congratulations on your positivity. Shall we continue with the show with a different piece of feedback on another subject?
Yes, we shall.
So we talked about counterfeiting things, copyright infringements, and Captain Carrot on my coffee mug that I got for Father's Day, as well as on my iPhone case.
Which, by the way, I did follow through on what I said I was going to do, and I wrote... I sent a contact to the creator.
Scott Shaw, exclamation point.
I wrote directly to the creator, and I said exactly what I did and how I want to make good on it. And please advise me on what you would like for me to do to make good on this, because we want you to be supported. We are so grateful to you. He did not.
Yeah.
But hey, I can't control that. I can only control what I do.
But we did get some feedback from Allison. Allison has, we've worked with her for the last few years with our Christmas ornaments that we've done. Not sure if we'll do one this year. I'm still debating.
I understand that.
I'm leaning towards no.
I'm prepared that it's probably not going to happen.
But Allison has been so wonderful. We've sent her these designs. If you've gotten one of our Christmas ornaments the last few years, she handmade them based off of my designs. She was listening to our episode talking about piracy, and she said, I had one more thought to add to that conversation about why it isn't good to use other people's images, logos without permission. There's the obvious aspect of making sure the original creator business is compensated, but then there's also the aspect of making sure whatever is done with the image logo is something that the original creator or owner of the logo would approve of. And then she got personal. She threw it back in our faces and made me kind of embarrassed the fact that you reached out to Scott Shaw. When I read this, I was like, oh, yeah. Because she basically put us in Scott Shaw's position.
Yeah.
For example, she says, what if someone made a cute shirt with the Rosary Army logo on it and mailed you $10 as payment for using your logo? You might be okay with that. I wouldn't be. To be honest, I wouldn't be, because people have done it. I have found in the last 20 years, even churches have taken our logo, made shirts for themselves, and put their parish name on it. Never even asked us, but then I saw pictures of it online. I was like, wait a minute, you can't do that. Such and such, Saint such and such's parish's Rosary Army. I was like, wait a minute, you can't do that. She took it one step further. She goes, what if someone made a satanic looking costume cloak type thing, which I thought was funny. So very specific. That it was going to be a satanic looking costume cloak type thing. Because if it's going to be a satanic looking costume,
it's going to be a cloak.
It's going to be a cloak, apparently. And put your logo on the back of it and then sent you $10 as payment for using your logo. You probably wouldn't want the Rosary Army logo used in that way, regardless of how much they paid you. Part of the licensing to use a logo is making sure the logo is used in an appropriate way that the owner of it approves of. It's not all about the money. And I was like, that made the point even more so of why we did something wrong.
If Scott Shaw emails me back and says, destroy the coffee mug immediately, I will do it. I will take a hammer to your coffee mug and I'll destroy all the evidence.
He's not going to do that. He's too nice of a guy. He has an exclamation point at the end of his name.
Okay.
And then she sent some examples of how one particular company restricts co-branding of their items from an environmental standpoint, but also because they don't want their brand associated with just any company who wants to stick their logo on one of their items. And I think that's great. Anyway, just wanted to add that to the aspect of the image logo use of the conversation. Hope y'all are doing great. Go to confession for stealing that image.
No, she did not say that.
You heathen sinners, Allison. So thank you, Allison.
Okay.
A lot of good points.
I'm sorry.
A lot of great points. All right, Jennifer, we also had some audio feedback. So put on your magical headphones so that you can hear this.
Put on my ears.
And hopefully I won't blast you out when I try to play this. This is in regards to passports. We should have played this on the previous one. But here's Mary up in New York.
Hi, good morning, guys. Greg and Jennifer. This is Mary from Queens. And I oh boy, my heart went out to you with the passport disappointment. Well, my daughter is traveling in spring, and she's also getting a passport. So now, I wasn't worried about it before, but now I am. So thanks for sharing. Yay. Anyway, I just want to express my empathy. And, you guys, I have my own stories. I live in New York City, so that's double the fun of having to deal with a federal agency because I have to deal with New York City bureaucracy. And having spent hours and hours myself on the phone trying to get a service that we're entitled to, and as you say, been lied to by many people, it is terribly frustrating. I do think it is important to remember that there's nothing we said or did that caused this to happen. This is, I'll just be blunt, institutional sin on the part of our institutions that are supposed to be there to help us. So, I don't know. I just keep praying for our country, and I pray for God to heal the things that are causing so much dysfunction, because you are not alone. You are not alone. And it is unbelievable and really worrisome that we have these massively powerful agencies that don't seem to be in the business of trying to help their own citizens. Well, I guess that's my rant for today. But I am praying for you, and believe me, I get where you are coming from. And if you could pray for me so that my daughter's passport does come in time for her spring trip. All right, guys, God bless.
Thank you, Mary. I can't imagine it not showing up for if she's applied for it already.
Well, because you can't imagine it. Therefore, I'm just sorry.
No,
I have to take
Greg
it.
can't imagine it, I'm the harbinger of doom.
No, I mean, things are still very much in your favor. In fact, I remember when I first heard that and she said spring, I'm like, spring? As in 2024? Oh, you should be in good hands. But like I said, if you're 2 weeks out from the date of her travel, you now know what to do.
Yeah.
You now know what to do. So you can be ready and hopefully avoid the calamity of a canceled trip. But
I would guess, so like right now as we're recording this, mid-July, let's say that you just applied for it today, and now they are saying minimum of like 13 weeks is what they're saying. So let's take it to worst case scenario, 16 weeks. Let's take it to 20 weeks. Well, that would be 5 months from now. Mm-hmm. You're going to get it by November and December at the latest. I mean, I really can't imagine that it's going to get any worse than what we've experienced. And I have to believe and hope that they have put in some extra measures to try to fix this mess that they've allowed themselves to get into with the passport office. And
hearing, just the way that you phrase that about needing help from these institutions that were designed hopefully to help the citizens of the country that you're in. It reminded me of what happened just dealing with the unaccompanied minors program for just helping a child travel via airplane without the parent is another area where you're kind of at the mercy of these ticketing agents to sort of make things possible for you, and you're being told one thing by the same organization and then another by a different representative from the same organization, and it is maddening. But just even getting things like a gate pass, I didn't even know that was a possibility at the airport. Like if you have a child, and maybe some of you have already done this, like maybe you're a grandparent and you've had your grandson come fly out to visit you, and now you're escorting your grandchild back to the airport so they can get back to their parents. Well, who can escort the child? Is it both grandparents or only one? Well, apparently Delta said one. But I had another mom with me for her child. But so are you really going to separate a mother and child from this moment of escorting and seeing your child off? And it just seems so cruel that we were denied at first. The ticketing agent said, no, I'm sorry, I can't allow, only one person can go, only one person.
And that's
not two, just one.
And in that situation, it was because you...
I organized the trip.
Yeah, you helped the reservations for two of both kids
Right.
at the same time so they could be sitting next to each other and that kind of thing. Yeah.
But then... and here's the humanity of people. They can change their minds. So it tells you they do have the power to do it because he's like, you know what? I'm going to help you out. I didn't realize you were the mom and you just want to say goodbye to your daughter. We're like, yes, that's all it is.
Why didn't you tell him that, though?
I mean,
every time I've heard you tell this story, I'm like, why didn't you just say she's her mom?
Yeah, well, one thing, they didn't ask about that, and we didn't know. We're just trying to do everything they ask us to do. To we want a smooth transition. We've never done this before, and now we know that there is a way through. But if you ask, and so okay, we're learning, we're figuring it out. So at the end of the day, we were able to get 2 gate passes, basically one for me and the other mom, so we can see our girls, successfully make it onto the plane.
So
it's crazy.
Got another email. And this was sent a while back, and I apologize for not doing this earlier.
This is the feedback catch-up show. That's what this is for.
Well, this is
Let's get caught up.
From David, and he sent us an email. He said, Jennifer and Greg, clearly this is out of the blue. My apologies for that. He says, I've just completed a short, easy-to-read book called The Family Rosary, Forgotten, Not Lost. He says, I am most passionate about the Family Rosary and what it has done for my family. I felt compelled by our Blessed Mother to put these family rosary ideas down on paper. After listening to one of your recent podcasts on the rosary, I truly think the two of you would enjoy this book. It's a short 105 pages. Among other things, it gives examples of how the family rosary has been prayed continually by good Catholics worldwide since the 16th century up until the mid to late 1960s. What happened? There's a reason. Well, it's 1960s. I can tell you what happened. A link below is available if you want me to send you a free copy, which he did. Thank you, David.
Where is it?
It's in my stack of books.
Okay, the big stack of
Put
books.
me on the spot like that.
I've seen this book.
She's like, where is it? You're keeping it from me, Greg. How dare you? It's like, thank you for saying that publicly,
And
Jennifer.
this is how a melancholic takes it. Where is it, darling? I would like to see.
Based on your podcast conversation, I'm confident you'll find it beneficial to you and perhaps to your listeners. Because it's self-published, the book is only available on Amazon. In modern times, the Family Rosary has indeed been forgotten, but I truly believe since it is our Blessed Lady's Rosary, it is surely not lost. So again, the book is called The Family Rosary, Forgotten, Not Lost. And
so you can get it right now on Amazon.
You can get it right now on Amazon.
Awesome.
He sent a copy of it, and I sent it back in the email. I said it's difficult to have authors on the program who have written books about the Rosary because we always talk about the Rosary. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, I have a hard time figuring out the questions to ask because not that I know all the answers. I don't know all the answers, but it's hard to think of questions that I don't know the questions, right? So anyway, it was a neat book. He had a lot of pictures in it and that kind of thing. Sweet. And so if you're looking for an easy resource for the Family Rosary, be something worth checking out, and wanted to make sure that we shared that. David, I apologize. You've been incredibly patient, waiting for us to say something about that. Also about the Rosary, we got an email from Dory, and she says, I don't normally contact programs with feedback, but I wanted to share this with you both. Our local Dominican parish in Columbus, Ohio. I bet I know what it is. I bet it starts with a saint, and I bet the saint's name is Patrick. I bet.
What?
Because there's a Dominican parish in Columbus, Ohio named St. Patrick's.
Oh, okay.
And I know that they're a very orthodox and very, very solid church. So they have a podcast on our local Catholic radio, AM 820. The guest was the Dominican priest and friar who runs this confraternity in our Northeast province. The graces from becoming a part of it sounds incredible. I thought of you both and Rosary Army and wondered if you were familiar with this. So thank you, Dory. The website, rosaryconfraternity.org. Confraternities are let me say what I was going to say, and then let me explain what I mean by it.
Okay.
Confraternities are a weird thing. They're not weird in and of themselves. There's a lot of different confraternities, and I get confused on all the different ones. This particular one, rosaryconfraternity.org, the Confraternity of the Most Holy Rosary opens its members to the grace of the Word through meditation on the mysteries of the life of Christ. You can find out more information on their website. I don't know a whole lot about this particular one. I've heard of all sorts of other ones. There's the Militia Immaculata, and there's a lot of different types of confraternities that you can join. St. Louis Marie de Montfort even encourages the joining of confraternities at the end of True Devotion. In his explanation of how you actually consecrate yourself to Jesus through Mary, he encourages you to do that. I've wondered, could Rosary Army somehow be a confraternity? But I don't even know the process of how we go about doing that kind of thing. So we don't officially belong to any particular one. However, I think through our consecration, those graces are definitely being poured out in the work that we're trying to do. But thank you, Dory. I am curious. It's one of those things that I would definitely learn more. There's so many. It's sort of like.
Well, I'm greatly comforted by this resurgence of Rosary-focused ministries, confraternities that are now getting on the radar. What does that tell you? There is a need, there's a demand, and the world is really big, and we're all just doing our own little part, and we all are kind of on the same team, working with and alongside of each other. Not that we're all connected to one another, which although maybe that's not a bad idea in the future at some point, but we're definitely on the same team. So get involved with somebody. As long as you are praying the rosary every day, you are doing something beautiful.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I mean, while this has been a talky talk catch-up show with a lot of feedback, I mean, what have we talked about here? We talked about the Sister Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. We talked about David's book. Then we get the email from Dory in regards to confraternitying the Most Holy Rosary. So there's very much evidence, as you say, of a lot of things that are going on. So again, that website's rosaryconfraternity.org. Jenny, good friend Jenny, supporter of the work that we've done for many years, including the work of Rosary Army. She said, I looked at the Rosary Army website, and it's great. She's talking about the new updated website. She said, you did a wonderful job. Looking forward to School of Mary when it goes live, depending on when you're watching this. We did delay it by a couple of weeks just because we want to make sure it's right and ready to go. There are a few bugs that we have discovered on the actual website. The donate page was a little goofy. Thank you to Molly for pointing that out. Not Molly, our cat, but Molly, the listener.
Thank you, Molly.
we had to implement I don't even know if I told you about this. Did you know that it wasn't working on Chrome?
Well, I saw in the email conversation with Molly that was the issue. I'm like, oh no, that's a big one.
So we have been working on that, and now there's just a direct redirect to DonorBox, which is who we do most of our donations through for Rosary Army. Yeah. The supplies page for Rosary Making Supplies is no longer on the website because that was going to be a part of School of Mary under our learning pathway for Rosary Makers. We want to create a community for Rosary Makers to be able to communicate with each other, share resources. And unfortunately, there's just this kind of this midterm time. We didn't want to put all the information on Rosary Army and then duplicate it over at School of Mary. We want to encourage people to actually join School of Mary and become part of one of those communities so that you can be talking with other Rosary Makers. So, but I didn't think about the need in the interim of launching the website and then launching School of Mary. There's about a month and a half in between those two. So there have been some people have gotten emails that we had the link to the old supplies page and that kind of thing.
Some broken links, yeah.
And so some broken links. Same thing with the audio page. Some of the prayers aren't there right now. And so thank you for your patience. If you're wondering what happened to those things, they're not gone for good. They're just, as we're working through these things, we're going as fast as we can. But there are some things that have disappeared now. They'll be back on School of Mary.
This is the visual I'm getting. Like, imagine you're in this parking lot and you have like these vendors, like an arts and crafts fair. So you're in this open space. You can just drive up to it, walk through, and leave whenever you want. But you notice that there's this big, beautiful building being built right next door, and it's nearing its construction, and it's almost complete. And now all the arts and crafts tents that were once in the parking lot are in the process of being moved in the building. So
that's how it feels.
Not that anything's going away, but it's being relocated into a structure, a shelter, a refuge, a place away from the storms, So you need to just come inside. Just come inside, stay a while, relax, sit, enjoy, And so we're moving in to a new place. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah. And it's true. Rosary Army will still be that website's still very, very, very important. There's going to be a lot of great resources still on Rosary Army, but trying to build the community and the learning platform, that's what School of Mary is going to be. So it's just a whole new ministry of Rosary Army. It's a way for us to really help bring more people, to accompany more people to a greater relationship with Jesus through his mom. Angie, also a longtime supporter, listener, good friend of the program, good friend of Rosary Army, sent me an email. I don't know if you saw this one. She
I
says,
did.
just completed the book, The Second Greatest Story Ever Told. By, well, you read it. I'm getting hoarse and
Sure.
and I'm out of water.
Aw,
So give me
here.
a while.
Let me hook you up. There you go, baby.
You read while I drink your water.
There you go. So this is from Angie. Just completed the book, The Second Greatest Story Ever Told by Father Michael Gately. And as I read through it, I kept seeing parallels to the mission of Rosary Army and seeing similarities in the things you have mentioned that you are working toward with the School of Mary. Please do not let this be a late to the party type of a message. I just see it as you are one more general in Mary's guard. Thought there might be some useful tools, some lessons, or just simple encouragement. It's a simple read, but I found it extremely hopeful and encouraging. Here's a page from the book, and you just scrolled away, and I carry it. It's about from the end of the excerpt that she had sent, like a photo of a page of a book that she thought was really helpful. And I love how she, like many people who, when they read something that they really love, they have their handy dandy yellow highlighter, and they just like highlight everything that's important. Like almost the entire page is highlighted yellow.
Well, what's interesting
because it's great.
So the book is from Father Michael Gately, who we've talked to in the past. Probably should have him on the program again. It wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, we should.
And again, to your point, many people doing this kind of work. I kind of gather, and Angie, you didn't say very clearly, but I guess he has video resources and other things that are available online for people to use for consecration as well. I mean, we've been doing it for a while. We're just doing it in a different way. We're updating what we've already had available at totalconsecration.com, for about going on 20 years itself. But some of the, highlights that she shared on this, in regards to Marian consecration, make your consecration, renew your consecration, live your consecration, share your consecration, doing it. Right? That's what we should all be doing that. Renew your consecration every day. What does that mean? What does it mean to renew your consecration every day? It means that every day you are recommitting yourself to Jesus through Mary. You say, Mary, I belong to you, and by belonging to you, I know that I fully belong to your Son. Please put me to work today for your Son. Please give me the graces I need today to serve your Son. Give me all these things that I need to be able to live it and to share it, as one of the things that she highlighted. How do we live the consecration? Father Michael Gately says, we live the consecration by drawing close to our Blessed Mother through turning to her in our daily lives with our needs and problems, and by sharing with her our joys and sorrows. This can be done by a simple movement of the heart, through praying the Rosary, or during set times of quiet prayer with her. Remember, Mary is a real, living person. She truly is our mother, and she wants to hear from us and help in our needs. So there's a lot more. Won't read everything that she highlighted, but at the bottom of it, and this is what Angie pointed to, that might be what she meant for us, that on the website, Father Michael Gately's website for Hearts of Fire, that they have additional resources for making, renewing, living, and sharing the consecration. There's a resources page at the end of this book that are devoted to Mary and Hearts of Fire, and just a lot of other resources. I mean, you can never stop doing things for her son.
What I like about what Father Michael Gately is saying here is that if you've never made it, just make it. He just says, just do it. And if you've done it before, do it again. Yeah. Do it again. Like, this is good stuff. And part of what really kind of struck me, and it felt like an immediate kind of like call to action, if you will, is when you realize what makes Mary weep, what would make her cry, is if one of her children went to hell. And then suddenly you're like, what do I have to do to help? What can I do, Mary? What can I do? I'm here. I'm like, put me in, coach. I'm alive and I'm breathing and I'm in this world. What do you want me to do to help you right now, Mary? And it's all about that service, that slavery. Like, put me to work, mother. I want to help you because I don't want to ever see you cry. Your son did everything for us and we got to stop this. And what do I got to do? That's all that matters right now. I just want to help. Like, I don't want anybody to have to go to hell. And that's what the children of Fatima felt like. Once they got that vision of hell, how it changed those children forever. And they were willing to do anything, like that real mortification to the level that we can't even hardly handle. But they were doing it because they saw that the stakes were huge. It's like, if me performing this work of mortification on my body will save a soul from that, I have to do this. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. It makes you want to act instead of just sitting on your laurels all day with a blanket and a cup of coffee, like me. So I'm trying to get up and get you excited to consecrate.
Speaking of my laurels, they're hurting.
Aww.
And
Okay.
I do have my chiropractor appointment that I need to get ready for. So with that, fantastic stuff. So great to hear from so many of you. And thank you if you send us emails and we haven't had an opportunity to respond directly or on the show. Please accept our apologies. We read everything that you send to us. We try our best to keep up with all of it. But thank you for all this great talking points and feedback that you gave us for this episode. And again, if you want to get in contact with us, feedback at Greg and Jennifer is the way that you can send us email. Or if you record audio or video, just record it. Go over to the website, rosaryarmy.wetransfer.com, and upload it directly to there. We'll get it automatically. It's super easy to do that kind of thing. And we'll do another feedback catch-up show here in a few weeks. We do have some more great guests and interviews and books that we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks, and so we're looking forward to that. If you need a rosary, go to rosaryarmy.com. We'll hook you up to help you to do what you need to do, praying your rosary every single day. You know how that goes, the whole rigmarole.
Do whatever it takes to be devout, reverent, and holy. You can do this.
rosaryarmy.com, schoolofmary.com. God bless, folks. We'll talk to you again in a few days. Pray for us. We'll pray for you.
Bye.